Hey y'all, Gavin here. I've been playing this deck a lot. I love Mitsurugi Ryzeal. This deck has been really fun. If you follow my channel, you see that I've actually played this deck a lot before too. The new support's crazy, and I've won a couple locals with this deck, and I had a couple approaches to this deck that I haven't seen many other people talk about. I wanted to share some information and some theory about the deck, and I wanted to give you guys a very in-depth deck profile. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. First, I'm going to start with the Mitsurugi package. So you have 3 of the 1-card starter, 1 of your boss monster, and then 3 of the little guys. Aramasa is also 1-card starter. Aramasa by itself does everything. Kusanagi is just very, very good. It helps you do the combo. And then Saji is actually your hard brick, right? So if you open Saji and a way to get to Mirakumo, and a way to get to Habakiri, you can't actually use the Habakiri as a 1-card combo because this card's in your hand. Luckily, you actually have 7 Tachyon, so you can put it back. But we're not maxing out on 7 Tachyon. So, yeah, if you open up this card, good luck. There's a couple of ways that you can still get the combo with it, but it's still not as good as just keeping it in deck. So, yeah, you just kind of want to minimize seeing these guys, maximize seeing Habakiri. That's also why you play Triple Prayers. So you basically play 6 copies of Habakiri. Or if you open Saji, you also maximize the way of opening prayers with Saji. So yeah, this is very good. And then 1 ritual. I've seen some people like playing more copies of this. I was actually doing that at YCS Providence. I don't think the theory there is bad, especially if you play the other snake dude. I just personally don't want to do it. I want every card in my deck to be live at all times, and I want them to be live in my hand as well. So cards like Kusanagi and Saji like do stuff, right? But I don't want to play more cards that don't do anything in my grip. So that's the theory on why I don't like max out on Ritual or the Snake guy. I was also playing 2 Mirakumo at one point, just so I could play 5 Rituals. So if I saw Ritual spell, I had like a pretty good chance of seeing both. It was just not, the theory wasn't there. I'd rather play more non-engine. Next are the Ryzeal cards. Double Sword, Double Ice, Double X'd. You max out on them because this is as much as Konami's telling us we're allowed to play. And they're also really good by themselves. Sword is broken because Sword gets to X. X is broken because X can break any board. And Ice is crazy because Ice with any other name allows you to do the God board. Ice by itself also does the God board along with X. The issue is that you don't play through hand traps as well without them. And I'll explain what the God board is later. But all these cards are fantastic. And again, speaking of the math, we have 5 copies of both Ice and X because we play double Tachyon, 1 Bonfire. You don't want to max out on Tachyon solely for the fact it's bad going second. And yeah, that's about it. The deck has enough starters as it is. I believe it's 17. So you don't really need to bump it up to be to the 18 marker. Like, I think 17 is completely fine. And yeah, like you have 5 copies of these cards. Adding to 6 doesn't really change the math on that all too much. So yeah, that's it for the 1 cards. And then for the engine requirements, you play 1 node, 1 star, and 1 cross. I have seen the debate of star versus the little snake guy. The issue is that Star Ryzeal makes your 2-card combos crazy, right? Because it helps you play through every hand trap. If you play the snake guy, you have to specifically have a way into Mitsurugi and make sure the Mitsurugi cards stick. And that makes you lose to Impulse just a little bit more. Impulse, of course, is like the best hand trap of the format. And the Mitsu cards, like when they go off, you already win anyway, right? Where since I'm leading off with the Ryzeal cards, I think it's completely fine to just summon out Star, activate Cross, and then lead with another extender. Because as soon as you set up early Detonator, you play around every hand trap, which I'll explain more later. And Node just lets you do the anti-nib lines as well. Very, very good. Being able to do like the 4 XYZ combo is very nice. And that is all for the Mitsurugi and Ryzeal cards. Oh, and I didn't talk about Cross. Cross is just crazy, right? Like, this helps you do, like, the God board. Next are the hand traps. I wanted to max out on the best hand traps of the format. So that's Fuvalos, Perulia, and Droll. I have another 3 of 2, which is Ash Blossom. But the reason why I maxed out on Ash Blossom is a little different than why I maxed out on these. So let me explain these first. So Fuvalos and Perulia, right, I think are the most generic Charmies, right? So when you're going second into specifically the mirror, or into the other Mitsurugi deck, or into Malice. These are usually the best ones. Of course, Meows is also very good, but Meows isn't as good into the mirror. So I just decided to side it, right? Droll is also very good into the mirror. But Droll doesn't work as well with these cards, except for the fact that everyone's playing outs to these cards. So if they hit you with an out to this first, and you can just roll them underneath it. They don't conflict in the ways you think they do. The only time I've ever had this card conflict was at the regional on Saturday, where I opened Perulia, triple Droll, and a cross. Which, that's variance, right? But that's also why we played a triple Ash, because Ash is a way to stop your opponent's Molcharmies. Everyone's on like more than 3 Molcharmies. So you want to be able to maximize your ways to out that. And yeah, that's about it. If these cards resolve, you have like a very high chance of winning. Ash is a very low impact hand trap. So if you Ash your opponent, it usually doesn't mean that you're winning. Except when you're going first and you stop their Charmy. So then you can hit them with the God board. But yeah, that's the reason I maxed out on all of these. They're all very, very high impact. You just want to be able to play all the high impact cards at as many copies as possible. And then you want to play 2 Ghost Bell. I played 2 Ghost Bell for a couple reasons. One, it just worked out with my siding patterns. And 2, another really cool thing about Ghost Bell is that into specifically Mitsurugi. So I wanted to have non-engine to hit that deck. In testing, I was having an issue where I was maining 3 Imperm, which, spoiler alert, I'm not playing 3 Imperm. And Imperm just didn't hit the mirror or like Mitsurugi in ways I wanted it to. But this card just like hits them. No one plays around Bell. Even into Malice. Malice doesn't have that many starters, so sometimes they actually have to lead with the field spell. So you just Bell the field spell, and you're in a very good space. So yeah, this card has been overperforming. It's also like the best hand trap paired. Being able to Bell your opponent's Mirakumo, being able to Bell your opponent's prayers. Like, this card just has excellent coverage. If you aren't playing it, I would heavily suggest trying it out. 1 Nib, 1 Imperm. I think Nib is weird, right? Where I think playing 3 of it's fine, but since you're on 6 Charmies, you're going to draw into it, right? So it's okay to not play multiples of this. We saw that in the OCG all the time, where they would just like main 1 copy of this, because if they're on like Max C, or if they're on copies like Molcharmies, they will just draw into it, nib their opponent. You don't want your hand clogging on this. This card's usually only good once a game. And Imperm is also very interesting, because Imperm, again, isn't the best into Mitsurugi. So it's okay to not see this. It's not even that good into this deck either. Like, the only time, like, the opening of the God hand against this deck, right, is if you draw and Imperm them, which is really good. But, like, you can also just draw Bell them. You can also just, like, draw Ash them. Like, this card not being good into the other matchups, I think makes it okay to cut. It's also not the best into Malice because of the trap interactions. So, while this card is very good sometimes, I don't think it's worth maxing out on. And then I wanted 2 bomb cards in my main to make sure that when I go first, I win. And it's Crossout Designator and Call by the Grave. Yeah, very, very good cards. I think these cards are disgusting. Nothing really much to say here. That's 41 cards. Oh, again, another math thing. You want 5 outs to Charmies game 1. You have triple Ash, called by, cross out. So you always are going to see an out. That is the main deck. Let's go into the extra. 1 Detonator. This is a part of the God board. And it's also very good because it helps you dodge Imperms and stuff like that. And of course, a lot of decks struggle outing this card. This card is just a house by itself. This is why pure Ryzeal was good for so long. Like, you can just end on 1 of these and you just like solo your opponent. Double Duo Drive. There's an argument to only play 1. I will be honest with you. I don't really send this that often. Bishials aren't really that popular. And I also am maining Bell. So there's a lot of times I just use Bell as a defensive option, because it just feels so much better to dump Eclipse Twins. Because Eclipse Twins is a part of the God board as well, which I will be showing after this. And allows you to do so many things like the Ouroboros loop. It allows you to do Baguska loops. It allows you to loop your Detonator. This card existing by itself is very good and helps you clear Malice boards. This card comes up a lot against Malice because you can just make one and then clear their board after you break through everything. And it's very hard for them to out a detonator with this summon, and you have follow-up too. Very, very good card. This card is very, I don't want to say underutilized, but it's like the god card of this format. One King of the Pharaoh Imps. This is used in a 1-card combo, 2-card combo, just away into Mitsu. 1 Exciton Knight. This card doesn't come up as much as I want it to, which is crazy, right? Because you see a lot of people go into this, but I find it easier to break a board with Detonator a lot of the time than it is to do it with Exciton. But this card's still really good. It has its times when it comes up. 1 Ouroboros. I basically use this card to make my opponent scoop faster. There's a lot of times you can just go into Ouroboros and you start hand whipping them and they just start scooping because they don't want you to see what they're on. So going first, this is sometimes the way to go. If you have a suspicion you know what your opponent's on, there's another card that's also very good. But a lot of the really good combos can play through 1 to 2 hand traps. And that makes it very, very easy for you to do the Ouroboros loop. And just like basically get rid of your opponent's entire hand. Next is Baguska. Baguska is probably my favorite card of the format. This card solos every deck except for Malice. And even sometimes Malice has an issue outing this card because if they just open 1 starter, they can't beat the deck. So this card's very good. This is on the God board. Crazy, crazy broken card. Number 60, Dugaris. I think a lot of people like to tunnel into this card to draw. I've seen people, especially I think it was at Italian Nationals on their features. There was a guy who was going into this draw into hand traps, like prioritizing this over Detonator. I don't think that's bad. I actually kind of agree with that because right now hand traps are key, especially in the Malice. Sometimes like if you're going post side, this card just allows you to go into your bomb side cards. So I think that's very, very good. But do I think it's better than Baguska? No. This card is still needed in the deck. Masquerade needed for 7 Tachyon. Aggregator helps you out every board of the format. It lets X be a board breaker. Dragluxion lets you use your Mitsurugi cards to get into your Ryzeal cards, which I think is very important for when you open 1/2 of the deck and not the other. You have to make reads on your opponent's hands though, because there's a lot of times where they'll just hold the Ash for like the 7 Tachyon. Of course, like there's other play arounds for that. Do I think that's correct? No. But that's just something for you to like realize and understand. And sometimes it's just better for you to end on a pure Mitsu board than it is to just go into everything else. But of course, it's hand dependent. Card I still think is necessary though. SP Little Knight allows you to loop Baguska. And also it's like generically just a very, very good card. This card comes up a lot more than you think it would. And Dynamundo. Dynamundo is also a very, very good card. It just lets you help break boards. There's a lot of times that if you're playing like this deck is a pure Mitsu deck in certain matchups or with certain opens, that you need this card to just be able to set up interruptions. That's 15. As you saw, I'm not playing cards like Emerald. I think cards like that, especially like the Dugaris lines that people are doing, are very win more. I like there to be more of a specific end board, and I don't think Dugaris allows you to like set up a specific end board. And sometimes if like you just don't have good draws, which I know sounds weird because you just emptied your deck of all of your Mitsu cards. You just emptied your entire deck of all like your Ryzeals. You're drawing into non-engine. It's kind of like playing Frog Monarch back in like Edison, where your deck's empty, so you're only seeing good cards. But if they somehow find a way to break your board, that draw on the next turn could be important. I don't know. I just feel like this card has burned me a lot more than it actually has won me games. Same with Emerald. Next is the side. Triple Lancia, you just want to beat Malice. Triple Meows helps into Malice and the pure Mitsurugi, and also I like to side this in against Fiendsmith decks. Double DD Crow. I've seen a lot of people kind of clowning on this card. DD Crow has a bunch of really good things it can do. It's also sometimes better than Visuals because there's a lot of times against pure Mitsu when they just have Habakiri and they're activating prayers, and you want to be able to hit, or not even just Habakiri, when they have Mirakumo, and you want to be able to hit their stuff, but like you're playing around Visuals, you can't play around DD Crow. And DD Crow comes up a lot more in like better situations. I don't know. This card's crazy. Also not putting a body on board, so like your X can still resolve. It's also very good. I don't know. There's a lot of things that makes DD Crow a little better than some Bestials. Specifically in this deck. I still think Bestials are very good. But DD Crow is just insane. Like, this has been, like, probably the god card of the side deck recently. One talent, I didn't want to have too many cards in my deck going first. And I feel like this card's kind of bait going first. Like, let's say in your main deck. Because you're not always going first. And this card isn't really the best in the Malice or into all of the combo piles right now. It's just, like, not many two ways to, like, bait it out. And this card's not even good in a Malice to begin with. So because of that, I think this card is fine inside. And then 6 bomb cards for going first. You just side out your Charmies and side into these. You play Warning over Strike because Warning can hit cards in Mitsurugi, where Strike does not. That was another thing I was having issues with, where I would side in Strikes for Mitsu. I'm like, man, this is kind of bad. That's the list. To explain some of the theory about, like, the end board and, like, just having proper end boards, I want to at least go over, like, the board I was ending on. Like, if I went uninterrupted, or the one that helped play around the most hand traps. So basically, you want to turbo into Detonator as fast as possible with an Eclipse Twins underneath. Sometimes it leads to, like, some weird sequencing. Oh, let's do it like this. Because, let's say you start off with... let's just say you start off with Ice and X, right? Where you normal summon Ice effect. This is where Star comes up, because Star lets you set the cross, and if they imperm this, it's fine, because then you still have the X, right? But this allows you to go into that. You then summon X, and then you can dump Eclipse Twins, right? So the twins underneath here will be in Graveyard. And then you can search Sword. And then you're off to the races, right? Because then you can just make Detonator. You summon this, you search, like, another Ice, or you search, like, another X. But you just turn 2 bodies into the Detonator. Attach, it plays around Nib, and now you're actually beating Imperm. Because one of the reasons why you're beating Imperm is that now you can just pop stuff, right? So, like, let's say you activate... let's just say you have it like this, right? You go these 2 into King of the Pharaohs. Let's just say, for sake of argument, they don't impermanent summon. You use the effect to search. Now, they're going to think that you're... So you're stopped from every hand trap, right? But you're not stopped from cards like Imperm. So to go Imperm on this, but then you can chain Detonator to target this to pop it, so it resolves. So there's a bunch of, like, fun interactions with the deck like that. But basically what you're ending on is this. So you have the cross activated. You have a Baguska. And you have the entire Mitsu set up. So you have your Habakiri. You have your Mirakumo. And you have your prayers. Whoop. That's funny. So you might look at this and be like, Gavin, this is bad. Why would you do this? You turned off your Detonator. You turned off your Mirakumo. This is awful. Until you realize that there's a couple layers here. One, they can't stop this. Because if they imperm this, now they have to play around everything else. So now they're down a card, right? And that also means they had to top deck the imperm. Because are they really holding their imperm the entire time for this lock? The thing with the lock is that they're never really seeing this come up. So the imperm was usually already burned in mid-combo. 2. These are turned off, right? But if this card is, like, let's say stopped. They're playing through this board now. Nothing's beating this board. Because now they have to have all gas. And you have a Detonator with, like, 2-3 materials that can come back by bringing itself back off of Eclipse Twins. You have a Mirakumo to negate, which you're going to have to discard for. Then you have a Prayers to bring back and nuke their board. Nothing's beating this part. Now, having this secures the victory, because if they out this, let's say they're playing Fiendsmith, they Desiree, shuffle, descend. They use the effect of the Link 3 to bring back. You go Eclipse Twins, right? To negate off cross. Now you go Eclipse Twin second effect. Bring back here. Nothing is beating this. There's so many layers here. All their guys are losing 800 attack. You can protect it from destruction. This board is just broken. And every time I've made this board, I have won. I think I've only... Actually, no, that's a lie. I've lost like once. And it was only because there was just something... There was something bad there. I think I misplayed it. Because if I play perfectly, if you set up this board and just sit on it like a helmet, you're completely fine. It covers all your lose cons, right? Because a lot of times there's just games where it's like, oh, they just have it. Nothing beats this except for like maybe a droplet. But then if they droplet you, they're down on so many cards because they had to droplet 2. Assuming they hand trapped you too, because they just had droplet. There were no charmies. This is also the board you make under charmies because they can't beat it, by the way. Also, if they X-send, you can negate with cross. So there's a lot here. But like... There's so many things that they have to account for in order to like break this board. And it's never going to come up. If they're dropletsing you, that means that they didn't hand trap you. If they did hand trap you and they droplets for 2, that means that their hand is going to only have like 2-3 cards left. So one of them is going to be negated by cross. Another can be negated by Mirakumo. So now they only have 1 card left. And then you prayers nuke their board. They have nothing. So even like droplets by itself does not out this board. There's so much here. I think that board is the way to go. I've seen some people Ouroboros loop, but when they get hit with a Charmy, they don't know what to do. They just tunnel into Detonator. I say you just play through the Charmies. Because every time I played through the Charmies, I made that board, I've always won. That's the theory, at least. Some people think it's win more. I think the draws are win more because you don't really need the draws to win. What you need is to set up a board. This deck doesn't really have like a cohesive setup board I've seen people like always agree on. But I think that should be it. But yeah. That's the theory. I know I kind of rambled there at the end. If you guys want to see a combo guide, please let me know. I will post a combo guide. There's a bunch of ways to get to that board. There's a bunch of ways to get to some other boards in this deck that you can produce too. I have like at least 40 hours of testing in with this deck. I played this deck a lot. I have like no-lifed it for the past like month. But yeah, hopefully I take this to Nationals. If not, I'm going to be making more content about other decks for Nationals too. So any testing I see, I'll send to you guys. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble. If you guys like the profile, please let me know. If you made it this far, please let me know in the comments. I always enjoy when people let me know that they watched everything and enjoyed it. And any feedback would be very helpful. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.